it mostly took part at night in New York City. But
you could walk to work.
Be careful of that. A thing that you like watching, you may not want to actually be shooting it for 5 years, because the nights are long and cold, and so. But I liked that noir feeling of the show, and the kind of Cape Crusader element of it, and the lonely and desperate mission, and the science fiction trappings, although they didn't end up being very fictional.
It's actually like horrifying how prescient that show was.
Yeah, there was a point, I can't remember what season, you probably know better than I, season 2 or 3 with Snowden and stuff, and we realized that we weren't out in the lead anymore. That world events were leading our story rather than following or echoing. It was interesting. But probably, I mean, it doesn't make that much difference to the actors, because you're just going to go in and play the scenes every day. But to the writers, imagine, they're in the writer's room, they're going, oh my God, how can we top the stuff that's going on in the real world? What could be more thrilling than real life events?
I know whenever we have political, like the folks from Veep here, I'm always like, what is it like watching a show and seeing what you play, but it doesn't even measure up to reality?
Yeah, but maybe that's a conundrum that we're all living in now in our culture, in our media-drenched culture. It doesn't bear much thinking about.
I know, right? It's kind of. I know. I'm like sitting here thinking, like, wow, that's depressing.
Let's stop talking.
On a happier note, what's it like shooting at night in New York? What was the craziest experience you ever had?
We had a lot of crazy experiences. I mean, there's all categories of crazy experience.
Hit me.
There's danger, there's bad weather, being on really high places with low parapets and strong winds. That'll get me every time. I'm not real fond of, like that last scene, that clip there, how they found 2 skyscrapers of the same height that were right next to each other. I can't remember where we shot it. It was in the financial district. Huh?
Oh my God, you're a super fan. I love
it. But it was cool. I mean, we could actually look at each other across that distance. Couldn't hear each other speak. So that had to be relayed by walkie-talkie and stuff.
That must be the freakiest thing, to be on a skyscraper at night like that. Like where it's just, well, it's not just you, it's a whole crew, but it's basically just you.
Or in deep underground, dark places in the city, like being in the main public library at 4 in the morning with just a few lights. So that place is all shadows and caves and echoes and stuff. It was really romantic. I think of Jim Caviezel and I walking down some desolate street, having a life or death conversation. Often wrangling a big, strong dog at the same time. That'll be one of my seminal memories of that show.
Okay, what about when I say Lost?
What I'll remember from Lost?
Come on, you went down in history as one of the greatest TV villains of all time.
It was cool. I
love that's like the understatement of the decade.
I chiefly, I mean, if I had to distill it, I suppose running through the jungle at night. That's because it's dangerous and exhilarating at the same time. Taking a lot of beatings. I took a lot of beatings on that show, and also being confined in little cells or torture rooms and having these desperate chess game kinds of conversations with John Locke or whoever, you know, some other equally dangerous, mysterious character. I always like that. But that's the thing you like best about any show, or that I like best, is I could say the same thing about Person of Interest. Being in a pressure cooker situation, being in a cell or an interrogation room or something, and everything is still, because the stakes are too high for anything outside the conversation and who will prevail in the conversation.